Hey everybody, Who's Your Jedi here with another review for you. This time I'm talking the Flash episodes, What's Past is Prologue. And this is the show's 100th episode. Naturally, this is a pretty big deal. You know, in the olden days of TV, 100 episodes of a show was kind of the magic number. That meant the show could be sold to syndication, which is where there could be some serious money made. And of course, TV show distribution works quite a bit differently these days, but still, 100 episodes is no small milestone. And this is, as expected of an episode hitting a milestone like that. The show really pulls out all the stops, and oh boy, it does. Do they pull out all the stops? This is such a cool episode. Directed by Tom Cavanaugh, actually. And gotta say, good job, Tom Cavanaugh. So just kind of let's get right into it. Now, the whole plot of this episode is basically just kind of an excuse to sort of retread or go back and sort of touch on some of the really great moments of the previous seasons, and to also further the whole situation going on with Nora. But nonetheless, the whole we've got to get all these things that just so happens to have been associated with, the previous seasons. I mean, it's total MacGuffin. But okay, whatever. I really like how at the beginning Barry doesn't want to take Nora along on this situation, and he's not without his good reasons. But I do like how Iris talks him out of it. And then it's the two of them on this crazy adventure, and getting to go back to those big moments, like them defeating Savitar. That was great. Of course, the stuff where they go back to season 2. That was where the show, I think, really hit some nice moments. And I do like how before everything was going on, they kind of deliberately invoked Back to the Future, which is not the first time the show has done that. They were earlier season, they were talking okay, does this whole time travel situation follow Terminator rules or Back to the Future rules? Having to impersonate their past selves and, hiding just out of sight during past events. I mean, it's all very, very Back to the Future. Ralph even played the Huey Lewis and the News song, Back in Time, from Back to the Future, which I love. I just love that so much. It also doesn't hurt the fact that that's a really, really good song. The Back to the Future soundtrack is absolutely legendary for very good reasons. But like I said, the season 2 stuff, they brought back Tony Todd and Teddy Sears to do a little bit of new stuff with Zoom, and that was awesome. It really served to remind you just how scary a bad guy Zoom was. And neither Tony Todd or Teddy Shears has lost a step when it comes to Zoom. Tony Todd still has this absolutely terrifying voice. And oh man, does Teddy Sears know how to bring the crazy. Just sort of that look on Zoom's face when he's like, another speedster. It's just like, oh my god, I forgot how absolutely nuts this guy was. And, that was just beautiful. And again, you get to sort of see the Time Wraith again. And as other people have pointed out, this isn't really something that really contradicts previous continuity all that much. It's pretty easy to assume that Zoom managed to get away from the Time Wraith. So yeah, no big deal. I mean, we have seen, on Legends of Tomorrow, that it is possible for a clever speedster to get away from the Time Wraiths. That's kind of one Eobard Thawne's shtick during that first season. And of course, that's where they ultimately end up, is back in season 1. They touching on the other time that Barry traveled back to that time. And I don't know, I wasn't quite sold on Thawne's freaking out of yes, I get to get back home, and but he really, that was his whole thing. He was just convinced, in spite of a really mountain of reasonable evidence, that being able to go back to the world that he knew shouldn't logically be possible. But, that was the one thing that Barry had to hold over him. I'm still a little unclear on how all of that worked, but if you look at this and then you think back to how some of the things that Eobard Thawne did the last time Barry traveled back to the past to meet him again, as confusing as it is, suddenly some of his actions definitely seem to be seen in a different light. Like where he, yeah. Like I still love that bit from that season where he's just like, "Oh, so I've already gone back home and you're here now. That means I can kill you and I get to go back home." Oh, you didn't think of that, did you? And he just starts the hand thing, and then of course Barry has to lie his butt off to get out of that situation. And with an especially unconvincing lie too. It's like, "Oh, I wrote a letter, and if you kill me, then it'll fall into the hands of this time's Barry, and all your plans will come undone." It always seemed weird to me that Thawne bought what was such an obvious lie. But if you factor in what we see now in this episode, it could have been just that he was pretending, and that was just a chance for him to screw with Barry's head. Or, maybe the timeline did. I mean, it's impossible to kind of figure stuff like this out truly. And it's not as if DC and time travel and continuity problems are a new thing. Oh my god, no. But I still maintain that the best villain this show has ever had was Tom Cavanaugh as Season 1 Eobard Thawne. And I'm always so happy when we get to see, like with Crisis on Earth X, oh boy, Tom Cavanaugh, for some reason I couldn't think of his name for a moment, when he gets to step back into that role. And here, we definitely get to see some really intense moments with all of that. Like, I about fell out of my chair when he talked to Nora and said, "Oh, you're his daughter. Dawn, isn't it?" And you see that hits Nora for something. We don't know exactly what. And he also mentions some other female speedsters, like Libby Lawrence and Dana, I can't quite remember how you say it, but basically the woman who's the Flash in the time of Batman Beyond, which is extremely intriguing, the idea that the Batman Beyond future is now a serious possibility as the future of this world, instead of the one where the lady from Legends of Tomorrow comes from, which kind of has been also implied as a possible future. I mean, I love Batman Beyond, so that would be so awesome. And how cool would it be if at some point in the future the Legends actually did go to the time of Batman Beyond, and maybe we could get a live action version of probably not Terry, but maybe some of the other superheroes that are established of that time. Or maybe we could even see the Batman Beyond speedster on the Flash one day. I still want to see Max Mercury first, though. Max Mercury is like the one real key member of the Flash family that we have yet to see, but I'm still pulling for it. Anyway. And I like how during that conversation with Barry and Nora, you can really just see the gears turning in Eobard's head. And Nora's rather unconvincing answers to the questions. And you can really sort of see that he's putting something together in his mind. And the whole thing where they're in the time vault and Nora seems to be fascinated by the Reverse Flash's suit. Previously the way she sort of reacted to finding out that it was Reverse Flash that killed her grandmother. And then, of course, there's the bit at the end where we see Eobard imprisoned in the year 2049. And, it's really been heavily implied for a while now that somebody put Nora up to a lot of what she's been doing, has been kind of manipulating her or guiding her from behind the scenes. And a lot of fans had guessed that somehow or other it was going to end up being Eobard Thawne. You can't have a season of The Flash without a Reverse Flash episode. Barry and Eobard have to throw down properly at least once a season. And yeah, here we see Eobard is up to his old tricks, even from prison. The idea of Reverse Flash in this kind of Hannibal Lecter role is absolutely great. It's something that fits him perfectly. So yeah, I am so down to see where all of that is going to go. Anyway, guys, next episode is going to be the Flash part of the big Elseworlds crossover, which, oh lord, this is going to be glorious. I can just tell. It's going to be great. I cannot wait to see what happens. Anyway, guys, that's all I have for you this time. Until next time, take care and have a good one.